Welcome back to MidPoint. Former political director for the National Rifle Association, now president of the Independent Firearm Owners Association. Richard Feldman joins us here in the studio. I want to go right back one more time because this is a point that I need to make. When it comes down to the whole mental health issue and the NRA, understand it is not the NRA's issue, but they are powerful. They have money. There are guns killing young kids out there. Understood it's not their fault, and you're right. The parents need to be the ones on top of this, and there needs to be better gun safety. But wouldn't the NRA look better and be better suited if they came out and said, we're going to get at the forefront of this. We're going to use our power and our political efforts to get right out in front and try to push this forward, so we're the guys looking for a solution.
You know, with all the billions that Mayor Bloomberg has, and he's spending hundreds of millions in American politics by tomorrow, Election Day. Had he spent some of that money in mental health community, he would have saved a lot more lives than going through the same tired food fight over guns all over again.
But we're going past we're sidestepping the issue here again. I understand about that. But the NRA has a tremendous amount of money. You've been with the NRA before. Why would they simply not want to use that and be the guys and gals out front of this issue and make themselves the good guys?
Well, I don't think the NRA has answers when it comes to mental health issues. I think we have to look to mental health professionals.
But at least put everybody together. That's my point.
I don't see a problem with that. I'm sure NRA would want to be at the table in a discussion like that, but it requires leadership, something we don't see much of in Washington, D.C.
What about leadership in the NRA?
Well,
to do that, the person to step out and say, I understand that all of our gun owners are not going to be very happy with this. They're going to think that we're giving up, but I want to be the one out in front and try to make sure that this gets done.
I think they would play an important role, and if it was handled correctly, I think you'd see a lot of support from NRA senior leadership. But it's an issue that's a political issue that requires political leaders to take the first move, something we haven't seen.
But again, the NRA then is not willing to make that first move. They want the government to make the first move, correct? That's what I'm gleaning.
Well, I think it's mental health professionals and the government. That's their ballywick. If it involved a gun issue specifically, I'm sure you'd see NRA take a very front and center and immediate role.
But they don't seem to be willing to at this point.
Well, it's not their issue. I mean, look, I've criticized NRA in the past. I'm no shrinking violet, but it's not NRA's issue. They have no expertise in particular on this subject. And it requires other people. Where are all elected officials? Where's the president? Where is he?
There are those people who would say that a lot of the people sitting in Washington right now, the gun lobby is so big and they're putting so much money into the pockets of certain politicians that they don't want to say anything because they're afraid of losing their extra dollar.
You know, for years it was only the gun rights side of the community that had money. And I always would say to people that cried about it, at the end of the day, money doesn't vote. People vote. Now the other side's spending more money than the pro-gun community. And I'll say the same thing. All their money that they're spending is wasted because at the end of the day, it's people, it's gun owners that care about this issue, go to the polls, and vote their civil liberties.
And it's also gun owners, irresponsible gun owners, who leave their guns out there for teenagers to get a hold of and go shoot people.
Hopefully they won't be voting tomorrow. But of course, you're right. You have to secure your guns from everyone when not in use.
So what's the solution here? It would seem as if there is no solution.
Well,
one side wants to move, one side doesn't want to move. Everybody's sitting like this and we're completely log-jammed.
We don't need to, you point at the National Rifle Association. There are lots of groups in this country. I've never been willing to shrink back. If there's going to be a discussion on this issue, I'm certainly willing to participate, and I know plenty of other gun rights groups that would be happy to participate as well.
60 seconds in, what would your group do in order to push this forward and make guns safer?
Well, it's not making the guns safer, it's making people
safer
around guns. First thing I do is the easiest thing, be promoting the basics of firearm safety education. That's not complicated. We've done that in this country when it came to complicated, controversial subjects, sex education, AIDS, drugs. We didn't shy away from those topics.
And mandatory background checks across the board?
We support mandatory background checks for the transfer of a firearm between people who don't know each other.
What about the purchase of a firearm from a
Sure.
legitimate organization? Everything. Mandatory background checks regardless.
Not across the board. I'm not in favor of background checks when I transfer a firearm to a close family member, to a friend. Just recently I transferred a gun to a guy on a Sunday. Happened to have been the police chief in my town. Should I have forced him to go through a background check? It's kind of preposterous.
We are all out of time, unfortunately, but please, we've opened up a lot of avenues. Let's come back and do this again.
Love to.
Richard Feldman, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time. All right, after the break, it may sound easy to sue the president, and all you have to do is find a lawyer to take the case. And at 34 minutes after the hour, Virgin American picks an interesting time to go public. That and a lot more from the Money Master right here on